oh man. Love that music, Kimmy. That is just some of the coolest tunes. I got so many more I can't wait to play on these openings as well. Thank you folks for joining the show tonight. My name is Chris McClung. We're about to have our host, Mr. David Himmeline, play us in. David, how are you doing, sir?
Fabulous. Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, man. How are you doing this
What's
evening?
going on? Good, man. How you doing?
I am doing just wonderful. I am so looking forward to this show this evening. As you know, I enjoy doing a little deep dive on our guests when I have a few days. It even gets much more fun. I cannot wait to get into this one. But before we do need to thank our sponsors, Mr. Himmeline, Mr. Lone Star Disc. We'd like to thank them once again for sponsoring the Fling Show. They've been with us since day one, and we've been behind them since day one as well, with him and I both being team members and Team Lone Star Disc. And my goodness, Timmy, I know I didn't break these out the last time we played, but guess what just got released? Because they haven't released enough discs this year already, right? We got the nice, the Benny, the new putter right here, the overstable putter. Got them all and all the plastics. If you don't have it, give me a call. I got it. I can put it in your hands. And whoo, that has another one right there. And nothing for nothing, but the new Harrier. It's a distance speed driver.
Okay.
-3.2, which
-3. I like that.
Don't mean anything to you. It's all about how you throw it. So I can't wait to get these out in the air. How about you, David?
Yeah, definitely. I've been at it already and starting to learn the discs a little bit. But yeah, I'm starting to learn those numbers too, because you know me, I'm just like, okay, well, and then I'll say the brand name. And you can't do that in the shop. You know, you're sitting around, oh, hey, I can't say that. Yeah, but you know what you compare it to. So I saw Freddie. I was like, what do you throw for your zone shot? Because I think Freddie's known for that zone shot, that up shot, that kind of weird flick thing. Zone thing, Walker. So that's what he throws. And it's the Founders plastic. So I picked up one of those and threw it in the water on film.
Well, I thought the most fun thing is what I saw you doing with that lariat. If you think I got the last, I got that one on the back wall right now that signed that I got an ace. I think you're going to be the next one to hit one, because the last time we played, you hit pole one time and flew over the basket the next time with that lariat. And I'm telling you right now,
I do like it.
That's going to be your disc.
Yeah, it's like I guess like a TL. I don't know. I have to compare it to something. But I'm trying to find something for my Escape, which I've had in my bag since when, was this sponsored, way back in the day with Double D, and that is still in my bag. It's like it hasn't left, that and a fuse. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. And I'm hoping that lariat will work into that, or maybe there's another one out there that's got that same feel. But man, as far as just an all-purpose disc that you could just take to the park and just throw that lariat is good for that. It's a good straight flyer. It's like a good I guess a slow speed, probably a 7 or 8, and that's kind of where I'm at with that stuff. A lot of the big wing stuff all kind of seems the same to me, which is the Nimitz and the bayonet. And just at my level right now, I'm not throwing very hard. It's hard to tell what those discs, I can't really make them open up. They're just clunky, big, stable discs, for me. And that's what I need, though. At some point I'll be needing those, but I just haven't found that sweet spot yet. And definitely with the putter, I really like the feel of that blue bonnet that you were throwing. I wish it had a tiny bead on it, but I do like the feel of it. And it feels sturdy enough and glidey enough. And you were doing some work with it. So,
well, that's a perfect segue, because where we were doing perfect work with both those discs was at Little League.
Yeah.
And right now we have the minor league disc golf tour coming up. Cactus Open first round. This is sponsored by Southern Star Brewery and Prodigy Disc Golf as well. This is going to be at Little Egypt on Sunday, April the 30th. You bring that lariat again, I have a feeling you're going to hit an ace with that, because I can tell you what, my putter is just awesome. I love the blue bonnet out there. You know how I'm throwing that now so well, especially in those tight shots there. The tumbleweed worked well for you as well.
Yeah,
folks
I did
get
like
signed up. That's on Disc Golf Scene right now. The Cactus Open Minor League Disc Golf Tour. If you're not a big fan of PDGA, then this event's for you. And if you are a fan of PDGA, we're going to have a lot of different formats, and this is only the first round. Like I said, sponsored by Southern Star Brewery as well. Signups are live on Disc Golf Scene. Go get yourself in it. It's going to be a blast.
So I have a question. Maybe it's obvious and I just don't know, but what is the Disc Golf Minor League? What is that all about?
The Disc Golf Tour is a non-sanctioned tour. In other words, you do not have to be PDGA current to play in this event. However, the event does follow guidelines that the PDGA sets forth. You are able to sign up in your divisions. However, this is a no sandbagging tournament format. So there's 6 different tournaments throughout this tour. This is the first stop. This is the first format. This is just regular singles. But as we go along, there's going to be different formats as we go. And I'm not going to get into those right now, but they're quite entertaining. But you'll get points based upon how you place. And at the end, we're going to have the finals that are going to have extra added cash. If I'm not mistaken, winners will be winning a disc golf basket as well. Trophies for every event. Payout for all the pros. AMs get plastic payout. It's going to be a blast, but you do not have to be PDGA certified to be in the tournament. However, we are following the guidelines as far as the rating system goes. However, if you do win your division and there are 5 or more people in that division and you win it 2 times, you got to move up.
2 times.
So there's no sandbagging. So if you got to start low, because once you win, you got to move up. No sandbagging allowed. But this is also a very affordable tournament as well. I believe pay-in is $35 to $45. Not a whole lot of money. It's also on a Sunday when a lot of people have time to play as well. And like I said, this one's in Conroe, Texas, at Little E. John Berg's Park out there, which I love because it's got tight lines. It's in the woods. Not necessarily made for the big bombers. It's made for the people who can shape shots. And those are sometimes some of my favorite courses. And Hemi, you tore it up when we were out there last time as well. But I think now everybody knows it's about time. You might want to introduce this gentleman to our show for the first time.
Okay. Let me start by saying I had a whole speech that I was gonna give the introduction to TJ, but it was gonna be the one that I should have said when we had Yeti on, because I'm terrible at introductions. And no, the truth is, I wanted to talk to TJ so bad about these courses and about how I'm seeing disc golf from my fan point of view from the couch now instead of out in there. And I knew TJ's been there and have a lot of respect. I have a huge amount of respect for his course knowledge and, just technical knowledge of disc golf and the ins and outs of it. He's just a bright person, and he's one of my favorite people. He's one of my friends in my circle, and I'm really happy to have, I guess, one of the first true brothers that I've instead of just going out for famous people. This is somebody that I love and adore, and thanks for coming on tonight, TJ. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Feel the same way, Hemi. You're one of the best people I know. So I am honored to be here, and yeah, I would love to talk about these courses and see what we can get into.
Let me backtrack a little bit. You're in you said it is Black Mountain, North Carolina.
That is correct. Yeah.
And
yeah.
Did you happen to see the Cocaine Bear movie?
I have not seen Cocaine Bear.
Good. That's good. That's good.
No, I want to. I actually think it looks funny, but no, I've not seen Cocaine Bear.
Well,
Okay.
let me lay this one up for both you gentlemen, because I think Hemi really hit it out of the park when he talked about your knowledge of disc golf courses and ones that most of us will actually never see and maybe get to only see on TV. So a couple of things that I know that Hemi had pointed out is you're well traveled and you played it. You've seen some of the biggest tournaments.
Yeah.
Out of those tournaments, which one would you say was your favorite so far? In the course, I mean, based upon the course only. I mean, I'm not talking about you playing it, but just the course.
Course, without a doubt, it's Maple Hill. The course in Massachusetts, MVP Open now. It is far and away the best course I've ever been able to see a tournament played on and have gotten to play outside of Flyboy Aviation, which I'm not going to go into all that, but Maple Hill is amazing. It's a magical place. It's I remember talking to Bradley Williams about it when I was out there with him, and it's just a place that you don't even have to be a good course designer. It just, the land itself, you just put baskets out there and it works, and it is incredible. It really is.
That's awesome. It's funny you mentioned that one, because talking to Jay last week, he had no idea. That's pretty much my schooling, was that video of Jay and Dez, and Brinster was there. Brinster hits an ace. I can't remember the exact year, but just watching that course over and over and over again with my boys growing up and stuff, it's just a special place. It's cool that you mentioned that.
To me,
is that open to the public? I mean, is it played the same when it's not tour time?
So the great thing about Maple Hill, another reason I love it, is because it actually it is open to the public. You donate, $5 or $10, whatever it is. There's a drop box. It is a private property, but they let anybody come play it. But the reason I love it so much is because there are, at the time I played it, at least 3 sets of tees and baskets. So you have, each hole is played completely different than the other tee and basket position, right? So you'll have a white tee to a white basket, a white tee to a blue tee to a blue basket, and a gold tee to a gold basket. And that's the one you see on TV. Mm-hmm. But when I played the blue tees, and that's set up for, advanced players. And it tells you, at par on average through the tournaments that we've played here, that's about a 950 rated round of golf. Right. And so it says that on the scorecard. It says, look, if you play par here, you're about 950 rated for this course at that time, which I thought was really cool. Mm-hmm. And so those, and like I said, each one of those tees sets up for that style of player, and it just makes you feel comfortable where you're at. I played a couple of the gold tees, and I'm like, I'm not a gold level player, and so it's not going to be as fun for me. But a blue tee was just the right challenge, just the right, it still was beautiful, it was still gorgeous, but I felt like I was having a good time out there instead of just struggling like I would if I was playing the gold tees.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting, because the FPO, the female, I can't remember who I was talking or listening to, but they're talking about how special it is when you get to a place that has a dedicated course like Houston did for them. And it sets up with their skill level. And I know I've heard Chris say it a bunch of times about how he likes to watch the women, because that's more indicative of how we throw. We're not going to bomb 500 footers right up the gut. We're not going to do that on the backhand. Just somehow, man, I've seen we've seen Ricky do it all the time. It's like it's unrealistic.
Yeah, I tell people it's like they're playing a different game, right? Yeah. They're playing something different.
and that's one thing I wanted to pick your brain about, because how do we visually get that across to people? Because we know it, because we know these guys, we know those holes, we know, and some courses look better on, to me visually than others, and to display it.
Right.
There's a couple of things that they didn't take advantage of last week. It kind of disappointed me. More and more and more, we need more drone shots, because the drone really gives you perspective, as much drone as you can do. all day.
Yeah.
I don't care if it
Yeah.
seems cliche or overboard. It really gives you perspective, or get a plan of how you're going to use that drone to give you that perspective instead of just being cutaways and beautiful shot aerials and stuff. Every once in a while, they'll have one where it really illustrates the shot. And so the other thing they missed, what happened with the guy on the spot? I mean, it was like Nate, and all of a sudden Nate's in the booth and there's no guy there talking, because I just really I hold on to the guy on the whole, you know. They always go, well, what do you think about that, Nate? And then you get a visual in your own mind of what's going on, you know. And they didn't have that guy that last week. I thought they missed out on something, or they
did.
Maybe they just didn't have the manpower. I mean, I don't know how it works, you know.
Yeah, and I don't know how much time, or I don't know how much money they're investing in Silver Series events as opposed to, you know, Elite Series events.
Yeah, I get it.
But I think especially on a course like that, where you have some blind shots and things like that, you're not seeing. I don't think they took advantage of the two cameras as much as they should have on that course, because you just don't get an idea of some of the fairways and some questionable things, like in my opinion. But that could have been fixed or whatever. But it you know, I think it may have just been, you know, lack of funding as well. You never know.
Yeah. And not to knock on it, because I got to see the whole tournament. I was totally entertained. I was just thinking, you know, in the beginning when they first started doing that, and they were pretty seamless. I mean, it was a little bit of lag, but just seamless enough to where I started really relying on it. And I'm like, man, they really fixed a problem with camera work.
Yeah.
And the problem is a guy on the spot telling you the story, whether it's Disc Golf guy or Nate, what's his name? Anyway, Nate. I thought he did a great job, you know.
Terry Miller's down there, right? And then
what's Nate's other guy? Name? The guy, he was in the
Perkins.
Booth. Perkins, Austin guy.
Earhart's also was doing
Earhart's
that for a
amazing. He's like the guy. He's like our Rich Eisen, you know. He's like the voice of disc golf, really.
He's incredible. He's a professional. He just knows how to speak. He's silky smooth. He gets it. He really does.
And then on the FPO side, Juliana's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Zoe, love her. And Dyke, she's really good. So there's just so much great stuff going on. So I'm not here to knock on anything, but leave the guy down on the spot on the field. We need that guy.
I agree.
So let's talk about the course real quick. I don't know what Chris has lined up, but I had to get to that because I knew you had played it, and that's when I messaged you, because me visually, I even messaged Chris. I was like, this is like a video game. I'm digging it, you know, or I would make a video game out of this course. Yeah. And so talk about, I think you said hole 15, worst course in disc golf.
Worst hole in disc golf.
Yeah. Worst hole. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah. And I am definitely prone to exaggeration. So, but at the same time, the problem with that hole, and actually, you know, I got to caddy with Brad, and in my opinion, if you ever interact with Bradley Williams, and this is going back as long as I've known him, which is, you know, 10, 12 years, he's extremely intelligent when it comes to disc golf and course design and things. And he's like almost savant level. You know, I think I know the game, and I talked to
He's
Brad,
like a Feldberg. He's a lot like Dave Feldberg in that.
I don't know anything compared to Brad. And so, but on hole 15, you're teeing off from an out of bounds island. You need to hit a landing zone. That's the ideal landing zone is probably 410, 15 feet to get to it, which would, you know, be like a turnover, backhand, something like that. Brad was saying, unless you're Anthony Barella or, you know, an eagle forehand, you're not going to get there typically as a backhand player. So the other landing zone is about 50 feet short of that, and it's like a ridged, like it's sidewalk and right, and then another. So basically the sidewalk's on the left, and then you got like a ridge, and then there's these trees, and those trees are out of bounds. And so your landing zone is probably 50 feet wide, and it's it's elevated, right? And so if you threw a flick into it, what was happening is the guys would flick into it, it would hit the hill, and they would roll out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you throw a turnover, you're going to throw a turnover. It's going to go out of bounds right, or it may not get on there. And what Brad did was he threw a roller and tried to get all the way down to where the landing zone for the flick would be. It was very difficult to get a good read. And for most, even pros, it was just very difficult. I mean, I think the card that we were on none of them, nobody got on, nobody got in off the tee. And so, and then what happens is if you don't get off the tee, you go right to a drop zone, you throw over there, you take a 4. And it just seemed like a wasted opportunity, especially with that green that was surrounded with boulders and looked beautiful. And, it just was, in my opinion, they could have done a lot of things differently there, or just widen the OB, don't make the sidewalk out of bounds, whatever it needs to be. Freddie was there too, and he was saying the same thing. He's like, this is just not good. So, but
everybody plays the not good. But
yeah.
I think the ones that let it get to them, those ones that get eaten up by the not good.
Yeah.
I did that with your fabulous hole 18, that with my getting 11 at Northside Christian. Hey, I've done much better since then. I don't think I've scored anything over 7.
Jeez.
But
18 does not set up well for a lefty at all.
Yeah,
it's
not a lefty without a flick. Mainly that part is the most important, because if I had a sidearm in, it wouldn't be that ugly of a third shot or second shot if I get a really good drive off.
But overall though, I mean, that property in general, North Cove itself is epic. Like, you've got incredible changes of elevation. You've got the mountains surrounding that entire valley. The property itself used to be a professional ball golf course designed by a famous designer. I'm not sure who it is, so don't quote me. So it's very well maintained, well kept. The guys out there have put a ton of work into it. So, I mean, I can nitpick, but at the same time, I mean, the pros, what I liked about it was there weren't these giant scores out there. 8 down was really, really good. So, in that regard, it was definitely a course that challenged pros, which at the end of the day, that's what you want to do, these days, especially. And the women loved, so there's 3 courses there, which another reason I love it. So you've got a low level birdie or die, whatever you want to say, McDade level course. Then you've got, Boulders, which is like your advanced level course, and then you've got Gorge, which is what the pros played. And Boulders is fantastic, and the women pros loved it. It's going to challenge a 975 and below player, and for them it was just, they loved it. Like they couldn't say enough about it. And I agree, I love that place. It's really fun to play.
Right on. So talk about the galleries. They seem kind of slim. I know it was rainy. Is that kind of in the sticks there?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was kind of my guess. My original guess was this is probably out in the boonies, kind of like, way out of people's way. And it seemed to be kind of settled in between Charlotte and Durham. Or
it's directly between, it's kind of in the middle between Raleigh, Charlotte, and then Asheville. It's kind of in the middle of all of those things. And you've got to drive at least an hour and a half to get there from either of those, any of those cities. So there weren't, and also, playing on Friday, Saturday, and there aren't a whole lot of places to stay out there. So if you were going to go, you would have to, drive out there, go back home, drive out there or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but don't we kind of find that to be the case with most wonderful disc golf courses? They're not next to the big metropolises. They're not in. I went and played Worlds out in Peoria, which is out in the middle of nowhere. And, all those little tiny towns, right? I mean, so I kind of think that disc golf kind of lends to it. And that's why I love Hemi's idea of the footage and the coverage, because right now disc golf is hard to watch as a fan, because traversing it and being out of the way, not being in an OB, are you up on top of the hill? Do you really get to see it? Where can I walk? All those things come into play. So I think that the idea, like Hemi's talking about, more drone work, more cameras, more stationary cameras that are actually affixed to maybe trees inside those places where people are going to have to throw. I mean, I think that we're going to see that type of evolution, because I just don't see these disc golf courses being put in any type of, metropolitan area other than something that you do a makeshift something in a park, and I don't know how that's going to film anyway. But that kind of leads me to this, because you two know each other for years. In this picture I have, I know hopefully Hemi's been trying to look at it so he can kind of ID it. But one thing Hemi has taught me since day one that I met him is that there is one state in which Hemi loves to him some disc golf. One state. He talks about it all the time. And that's where I think y'all might have met, if I'm not mistaken, but y'all might have definitely played. So Hemi, by chance, does this course or this shot look familiar to you?
Wow. No, I mean, I was going to say it looks like Waterworks. It looks like hole 6 at Waterworks. But if you're saying favorite state, well, I'm going to have to go for disc golf. I'm going to have to go to Iowa.
Oh, no, you always talk about Iowa. The other state. You talk about Kansas.
Gentlemen's
Challenge. You talk about Kansas.
Yeah. Kansas City, baby. That's
Kansas
the
City,
heart of
Waterworks.
disc golf for sure.
You talk about Kansas.
Did I nail? Did I guess the hole 6 is what I thought? Maybe not.
Terry, do you know what hole this is by chance? I don't know if it's Waterworks or not.
And
I thought it was a hole 1.
Hole 1 in Kansas City. That would be
KSMC, something like that. I thought it's a Ford.
Oh, is this? Oh, I think this is Cliff Drive, right?
Cliff Drive.
Yeah, Cliff Drive hole 1. That's new hole 1 at Cliff Drive. Yeah.
Okay. And then you had this one as well. I didn't know if that was something that Hemi might.
That's Cliff Drive, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Cliff Drive.
Yeah,
you're close, but Cliff Drive was like I didn't have a lot of friends. In fact, I played alone a lot, so I had to stay over at Waterworks. And
Cliff Drive's kind of shady, man.
It's like, kind of rough, man.
Somebody got shot in that place one time, I heard, and
it's beautiful though. I mean, it is amazing course, and the people in Kansas City are disc golfers to the core, man. They're like, people don't understand how entwined Kansas City is with the whole like growth of the sport, and the way the tour is presented now. That's what they did at Worlds. They did it up with cranes, because we didn't have drones back then. It was 2009. It was the one Avery Jenkins won. And I always said that course was designed for him, because at that time he was the bomber.
Blue Valley.
Blue Valley was just, man, that to me, it's like, that's my epic dream course. That's the one that when I go into the great ether, I'll be escorted to play some disc golf, and it'll be hole 1 at Blue Valley.
That's a cool course. Yeah, that's a really cool hole 1 too.
And I was surprised too. We had Ken Franks, and he said it was an awful course or something. Remember that? It was like my jaw dropped. I was like,
he didn't like how long it was.
It's very. I mean, if you don't have a
4.5 hours on a casual round with no backups for just 18 holes, it's long.
It will tire you out. I remember we went up and played Kansas City wide open, and my buddy Matt Kessler, he had built himself a disc golf cart out of wood, and for whatever, and we're like, you should just bag this, man. Like, you should not care. You use your cart. And he was like, his last hole, he was dragging that wood cart up the last hill, and I thought he was gonna die. Like, I literally thought he was gonna die, man. It was bad. He was red in his face. I thought he was gonna pass out.
Well, that kind of leads me to this one. What are y'all's thoughts about this kind of shot in this kind of hole? And can you explain what we're looking at and what course that is, Terry?
That's North Cove, actually, where they had the Blue Ridge Championship. But that's just like a little practice thing that they have set up. So it's not a real hole. I just thought it was cool looking. I don't have a problem with a hole if it's short like that. That's, different. I know in Georgia there's a course. It's called Lula, and it's like a place where they have zip lines, and part of the property is an old chicken farm, and they have a hole that's in a chicken coop, and it's like 360 feet in dead straight in a chicken coop. And I was like, this is interesting. This makes it fun. This is different.
Well, as a fan watching the sport on TV, I love it when they get up. Even that one in Austin that Paul Macbeth didn't like. It was I think it was 17.
Are you talking about at Met or at which course?
This was the one that they put on for the Pro Tour up in Austin.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I think it was Met Center, right? I think
no, it was the course, the ball golf course that they turned into.
Oh, yeah. The one that he didn't like. Yes.
Yeah, that hole. But anyway, those holes, they always kind of turn out to be sort of a difference maker, not always, but there was one that Jay talked about last week that he had a shot for that goofy hole they had. And but those kind of things, they seem, at first you roll your eyes, but then when the competition happens, you got to play the hole, and it kind of gives you a chance to see something that's more relatable to what we do to our own game,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is as a fan. There's just something about it. It's kind of like those in ball golf, those kind of arena par threes where everybody's going nuts for the ace run, something like that. It's just kind of exciting.
What's the Arizona one? The one in Arizona they have where
I don't know the name.
Yeah,
that's a bunch of drunks yelling, and it's kind of the same thing that happened with James Cameron when he shot that. I mean, everybody there was just high on that moment. And that was one of those kind of courses, where it's kind of technical, kind of wooded, kind of hard to film. To me, those look better than the ball golf courses where they accommodate big galleries and it seems to be made for just kind of taking the buck of the crowd that's there, and you sort of sacrifice something for the camera, which I think they should rethink tight courses, because they always say, well, we can't get the gallery in there. We'll have a screen for a few holes, and they can watch, they could watch some live coverage there while they wait until the participants come back out in the open, because they're not all in the open or out in the woods.
And I think to that point, like, I think this year, Texas State's at, Brock, that was, like Earhart kept saying it, like that was perfect, that you had these holes that were in the wooded areas of a ball golf course, and they were using the fairways as where the spectators were, which is opposite of the way it's been, in, past years with Vegas and things like that, where they were using existing fairways and just building holes around that and trying to play disc golf on a ball golf course. And it's like, you have all these great, cool tree areas on these courses, use them, because that's what disc golf is. We're throwing Frisbees. We're not hitting balls. Right. And so I think that's the future. I think if you're going to start using ball golf courses, you need to start using the wooded areas and not the fairways, and use those fairways as spectator areas.
No doubt. Well, speaking of, especially those two courses, I think Griff did an amazing job, and Steve and all the Houston guys, and the way that course was designed, it's almost as if you're trying to disguise the fact that it was a ball golf course. Same with the gorge too. It was the same way. I never felt like I was watching, although you'd see some dilapidated greens every once in a while, but the flow of the holes, ran across the fairways instead of through the fairways. And however they designed it, it's got to be a challenge, because the original designer has this linear plan and you're trying to go against it, but the hills help, because the hills will tell you where the shots are.
Well, let's talk a little bit about a designer right here, because when you talk about not throwing out in the open and wanting to get out in the woods, I think you had this hole in mind, because to me now, depending on what time of the year you go, especially if you go in the fall when the leaves are turning gold, this may be one of the best looking shots off the tee box in Spring, Texas. Can you talk a little bit about the fact that, hey, the work you had to put into what that hole has become now, and that whole course?
Yeah. So Northside, Christian Church is my greatest memory of designing any course, right? But that hole in particular, along with was it 5, 6 across the pond, were kind of that's not how they were supposed to be originally. This hole was supposed to play diagonal, and we had a whole bunch of other ideas. And then, Sheldon and I were just like, I think shooting across the pond and using this fairway here, and you can see us there. And, we put in a ton of work, cut a lot of trees down, a lot of volunteers from, Northside Chain Gang and guys at that time really came together to work on that hole. I mean, a lot of the work that we did out there was spent on that hole and on hole, 6 and just cutting new fairways and things like that, and really putting in the effort and getting through some really nasty, rough stuff to make it what they are today. It's funny, like, looking back and how the original ideas that we had out there and how it's kind of evolved. It's crazy. And
well, I want to give everybody an opportunity, because I put this picture together for you as well, because I want to get your first thoughts on the group of people right there, because as I scrolled through the numerous amounts of pictures that you have, these two gentlemen came up quite a few times. Sheldon and I are very good friends, and I play many rounds with him, and I actually live literally about 12 minutes from this course. So I play this course all the time. And I'm very fond of it. And it's amazing what those holes in the back now have turned out to be, because what they've done to clean up back there is just amazing. But your thoughts when you kind of look at this motley crew right here, and that seems to be a much younger you as well.
Yes. I have definitely aged quite a bit. It's crazy. It feels like yesterday. When we worked out there, it doesn't seem as long ago as it was that, Sheldon is the father of Northside Christian Church. He was the one who put in the original 9-hole course. Everything that is there it's his baby. I'm just very lucky and honored to have had the chance to help design the 18-hole layout. I can just remember him and I standing out in the parking lot after playing around at the 9-hole course, talking about, I'm like, well, hey, they've built the youth center. Is that it? And he's like, yeah, that's all we're doing. It's like, well, there's a lot of land over there. We should use that land over there for 9 more holes. And he's like, you know what? That's a great idea. And in 2 weeks, we had 2 tee boxes and baskets delivered to the place. That's a testament to Sheldon and to Northside Christian and their devotion to disc golf. And, it's a project that I can't even speak on. Also, I'd be remiss, like Jim Kelly, his input on holes 1 and 18. He designed those holes originally as part of like his, guerrilla layout. They changed quite a bit. Like we moved the basket back for 18, and one's basket placement's different than what he originally. But his ideas were what we used to. So I was like, man, I always love playing these with Jim. Let's put them on the real course. Like let's make these holes permanent fixtures out here. And there weren't any holes like that in Houston at that time. And there really, I don't know if there are any that have like that USDGC bunker feel and
and it's all natural too. There, you don't have to put any rope. It's all just there.
Exactly.
And really the thing about those holes is the wind. You can say what you will with the OBs, because really it's kind of not a bad landing zone, but my goodness gracious, that wind coming down that bayou right there, if it's a headwind, a tailwind, crosswind, those things. And that's why it's hard for him on hole 18. Not even to have the shot, but it's that wind sometimes just drives the disc a different direction. But man, those 2 holes alone are just amazing. And while I know this picture isn't part of that course, but I think it just kind of lends to the fact of your devotion and your commitment, not only to developing courses and helping out, but obviously this isn't a maintaining part of the course as well. Can you give us a little explaining about what you're doing right here and what course you're on?
I think that's Inwood. If I'm not mistaken, the 3 courses out there for Texas States, and just cleaning up and getting ready for Texas States that year was, it was an epic. I don't even know how to say it. Like it was unbelievable, the work that was put in to make that place playable and what we had to do to get everything to where we needed it to be. I mean, it literally put me in the hospital. So, but I wouldn't change it for anything. I mean, it was a great project. Lots of guys that, worked their asses off. Sheldon, I tell people it's like that place wasn't mowed and we had grass up to our knees. And, I went to Sheldon. I was like, hey, I know that you've got a tractor at Northside Christian Church. He's like, well, I can't use that one, but my father-in-law has a tractor in Nacogdoches. I'll go get it and we'll do it. And he went out and he got a brush hog and a tractor and we mowed Texas State's courses 2 weeks before the tournament. And Derek Lang's running out in front of him in knee-high grass.
I was there, man.
It was just.
I was helping Alex Hughes put some holes in the ground and put some baskets in, and it was a, typical Houston, humid. It had rained forever, and it was just soggy, and it was a mess, man.
Yeah, it was.
And
a
if
mess.
I remember, there was a couple of volunteers too that brought tractors in, or just kind of.
There was guys who brought in zero turns and mowers and brought their mowers from their houses and brought weed eaters. And really it just came out to like, I'm not going to name any names, but the powers that be had dropped the ball. And I just feel like we were able to organize as a city and as volunteers, and Vandergriff and Derek and Sheldon and just Hemi and Alex Hughes and so many people who just spent their time out there making sure that the pros had a course to play that, that didn't make the city at least look bad, and Hemi got to play with Paul Macbeth. So that was cool.
Hey, and original Jomez too.
Yeah.
It's out there. It's one of Jomez's first production, and it is hilarious. It's like Pong. No. It's like you're watching Pong in video game,
Well, and Alejandro, no.
Alex
Downs just.
And I was having a typical horrible driving round, but it worked out okay. I mean, my form was off. I'd been slocking around in the high grass for 2 weeks here, or a week.
Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know how any of us played in that tournament.
Let me tell a quick story about that. It was like the highlight of that for me was this one particular house that became a fan of disc golf, and it was right there on kind of that island. I can't remember what hole that would be. It was at Inwood,
North, maybe
East course, I think.
East.
No, it's the one that plays right into the clubhouse. So it's like kind of right in there. But anyway, it made this kind of peninsula. It was a great viewing hole, and and this guy sat out there with his family in his chairs, and it became, after a while, it became like he was like our biggest fan, and it was kind of heartwarming to see that. And to see how disc golf kind of put early roots in that area and a place that really needs disc golf, And,
it did, and it does, unfortunately,
and it's probably like gone away. I mean, I don't even what's up with Inwood. It's just back to what it was before, an abandoned golf course.
Yeah, pretty much.
If I'm not mistaken, I thought one course was still there, but the other two courses went away. But I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've been down that direction.
I just don't know if they mow it anymore. That's the problem. That's always been there.
Right. Yeah, that's why I think there's only one of them open now. But off to something a little more fun and a little more funny. I did a real deep dive, as most of our viewers understand about me, and so does Hemi. I enjoy this part of my job more than anything else. And this is also another one of those pictures I didn't set up as well as last time, but this picture needs some more explaining. I figured out who made it, or at least sent it, but you've got to tell me what this picture is all about.
I don't even know what I didn't see it.
You can't see that picture right there?
No,
here, let me talk. Hold on. There we go. Let me talk right now. Don't say anything so you can look at it. It'll take you just a minute.
In time. I don't remember this.
You don't remember? I thought that was a picture of you as a child holding. I don't know. Vandergriff had made that for you for some reason, and I thought that.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, man, I have to send it to you because maybe you know who the person is on the bottom.
Oh my God, who is that? That's hilarious.
Is some disc golfer. I have to, like I said, when you do deep dives on your stuff online, it's kind of funny what you will come up with sometimes. Now, last week though, I did a deep dive on Yeti. And I pulled out a picture of him flexing, just big old mean bro, and he's probably like in his mid-20s. And I was like, man, for some reason Yeti, I think, wanted to be a professional wrestler. And so that got me to thinking, and you have a couple pictures out there right now that kind of lend to that same kind of thing. So true or false, when you were a young kid, you were going to be a professional wrestler. True or false?
False. False. Although
this was not your goal. You didn't like the tights and things like that. And that wasn't your thing.
I loved pro wrestling. I never aspired to be one though. No. That's great.
Well, I don't know where this picture came from. I thought this was your tryouts maybe when you were younger.
I shaved my head for Texas State doubles and had a mohawk for that tournament, and I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, so you do remember where I got this picture from, right?
It's a frightening mohawk, I gotta say.
Yeah, no,
when I saw the picture, I was
on top of TJ, and there's this mohawk from Taxi.
Yeah.
From Taxi. You're dating yourself there. Nobody knows that movie, Hemi.
I bet TJ saw it.
I've seen Taxi. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Wasn't that frightening when he came? All of a sudden, he's got a mohawk. Oh my God.
Yes.
That was a little scary.
Well, speaking of nobody would know that picture, I brought this one along because I thought that it would do us well, because I think if anybody in this group, you and I could really understand this picture, and it was one that needs a little more explaining. But kind of your first thoughts, TJ, when you see something like this, because my first thoughts is I remember those walls, and I remember how small that was.
Oh my gosh. Jeez. Wow. Yeah, that was a long time ago.
You remember those panel walls, that 1970s look right there? And everyone fit into one room that was probably like a 15 by 12 for Christmas. Is that what I'm looking at right here?
Yep. That's what you're looking at.
How old are you there?
Gee, like 6, 7. I don't even know.
In which one are you? Which is kind of hard to tell because you don't have a mohawk.
I think I'm back with my sister, the white shirt in the back. I think.
Are you the one opening the gift right in the are behind the lady right here with the glasses? Or are you right here at the looking face forward?
I think I'm the one that's looking face forward. I think it's hard for me to see.
I do love the bowl cut that we all had where the haircut's just right across the top.
Oh yeah. I'm surprised you don't have my cowboy one. I've got one where I'm like in a cowboy suit with the boots and the hat. And
I did that, but my wife was, she kind of talked me off she said after I did the wrestling one, I kind of got talked off the ledge on that one. Now, the last part that I have is I have one more. True or false, we all know that Mr. Himmeline right here is just a wonderful artist, not only with his music, but definitely with his art. However, if I'm not mistaken, I think I found a picture of you trying to outdo Mr. Himmeline. True or false? This is you trying to say, hey, I can do it myself. True or false?
Yeah. That's false.
That is not yours. I mean, it looks like you're standing right next to your photo right there.
Yeah, that's not mine. I was at USDGC standing next to that. That's not my art. I thought it was a really cool picture. Yeah.
It's quite amazing. Did you find out anything about the artist? I mean, Hemi, I don't know if you've seen this picture whatsoever, but it's actually next to another mural the exact same size, if I'm not mistaken. But it is quite breathtaking, the size of it alone, because I did not shrink you at all whatsoever. No. That is actually you standing next to this mural. And I know David has done some really large stuff. One that he did back at his high school at a gymnasium. That's just amazing. So what do you think about that, Mr. Himmeline?
I love that trend in disc golf. a lot. And I know there was like I guess it was Austin where they had it set up. I can't remember the tour, but anyway, there some guys traveling around setting up these giant murals, these panels, wood panels, spending the time and sticking them on there, actually hand painted murals. I mean, you could easily just do a digital thing and just slap it on, be a company, and it looks cool, like the Zuka thing, it's a big, cool thing. But when it's hand painted and it's done so well, it adds so much to that sport, and especially as a spectator, and especially as an artist, it's cool to see that that's kind of tagging along. And I see that in disc golf. I see the arts. I see it on my social feeds, with the up and coming players, especially in the FPO that are trying to make a statement. A lot of it is about peacefulness. It's like Zen. It's like flow. It's like all these. And then this past weekend, they were talking about climbing the mountain, and they were using the rock analogies, all the rocks around there in North Carolina and on the courses. And, it's cool to see. It's cool to see how our sport is progressing. I was hanging out in Houston on hole 18, watching that really cool viewing, spectating hole. And I look over and it's Alex Hughes. And I was just volunteering. I wasn't playing, but he was, little did I know, he was the Texas State champion standing right next to me. But Alex is not going to come and say, "Hey man, I won." He didn't say a word about it. We just looked at this whole thing that we were looking at, all around us, flags flying. It's a circus. And he just said, "We made it."
Yeah.
And I always thought that was really profound. We made it, as in we made it, and then also as in we've made it. I thought it was a really cool statement, and something that I'll always remember coming from such a humble guy.
I think I may have said this to you, and I think I told Chase and Sheldon, all our buddies, sitting there at home watching Texas State's this year, after all the things we've been through, like Texas State's when we're running around cutting Met Crest, just seeing if we even have a course that's playable, and seeing how that place looked and how well received it was, and how there was this idea of, man, I want to go to Houston and play that place. Like, that's not something we ever had, or ever, that wasn't something that we even expected to have. That was for Austin, that was for Dallas, and it's just the sense of pride. And just, I told Griff, I was like, man, you knocked it out of the park, and just, it was amazing. It was a great feeling. And to have people here saying, wow, what's this course in Houston? It's like, that's not something that I've ever experienced. Right. So it was awesome.
It was. And it was all Griff. I mean, it was all Griff's brainchild from the very beginning. And I guess from what I read, he was a reluctant leader, because he didn't really want to do it, but he ended up spending 10 years doing it, and he'll probably jump back on and do something more spectacular even. Just it's amazing what Griff has done in the past 10 years. Especially, we rewind, we were just out in Northside Christian on a 9-hole, just hucking discs and making up holes. Right. And Griff was out there too, back in that period, I guess. And then all of a sudden you fast forward 10, 15 years, and it's like, that's what you're creating. It just takes patience and time, and lots of hard work, lots of tree trimming.
Yeah, lots of tree trimming, lots of blackberry bushes and vines and all that stuff. Yeah.
So a long time ago, I read a story about the Ariel Green, this guy who was designing the egg basket. The egg basket?
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about? Well, he also has this one, all these other weird configurations where the disc has to go into this chain, and the chain is configured in a weird way. Well, that's kind of what I saw this past weekend with the rocks, with the boulders. What did you think of that? Some of those, I was telling Chris, I was like, if they go buy this thing, there's no making it coming back,
Yeah.
It's like a green that sort of forces a certain play.
It's cool. I like it. I like
close to the basket. Do you think maybe
some of them? I mean, yeah, especially the if you play boulders, one of those holes, like you can get in some. Like I had a point where like it's like where the basket is like in this cave almost, And like, if you're up under it, like you can't even get behind the basket. There's not enough room. So like you have to stand on top of the rocks to get it. I mean, it needs a little bit of fixing, I think.
But yeah, some courses
like
though, they're just so beautiful. They're, it's just, you can't go wrong. You just film.
You got this amazing green. Like, how are you not going to build it? I think they were talking about that at it was at the last term Music City Open, and they have a hole there that they've always had, and it was a green that's just like a natural tiered green. And it's like, that's what you do. Like when you're designing courses, you find those features and you build around that, and you find a way to make it work, because that's what it's about. Like the aesthetic part of a course is so important. For
me, it's the thing that calls me back. It's the thing. It's that vibe thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And my somehow, cathedral. And that's why it's the cathedral. It's why you go. It's the whole experience of the fellowship to me is getting out in a course like that. That's why I'm not a big fan of the disc golf. I mean, the golf course ones, but I love the ones inside the woods, because it's truly like a fellowship and a cathedral all at the same time. It's just absolutely just where I want to be. It's a comfortable place to be with my friends. That's for sure. Hey, Terry and David, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I got one more thing, because y'all had led into it earlier about your, where we've made it kind of thing. And you talked about Alex Hughes, which has been there since the beginning of, I think, when they used to throw hubcaps at trees. He's been throwing them so long. TJ, I got one more thing I wanted to show you, and it's kind of a blast from the past. And I want you to kind of speak about the people in this picture and the event that you're in, because when I saw it, I was quite amazed, because once again, I live just a few miles from Northside Christian, which means I just live a few miles from Spring Valley as well. So when you see this picture, and you talk about where you've come from, and the people that are in this picture right now, one a Disc Golf Hall of Famer, and oh my goodness, somehow got Don's head. I mapped it out. I'm sorry, Don. I didn't mean to do that. That's completely, I'm so sorry. But that's Don Young, supposed to be sitting right next to Andy. And I do apologize. That's kind of funny. I didn't realize I'd done that. But when you see a picture like this and where that's at, what are your thoughts?
I mean, just a lot of love for all those people. You've got, Patrick Brogdon, Tiffany Brogdon, who, aren't so much in the sport now, but, really were instrumental in getting me into tournament golf. I mean, Patrick TD'd the first tournament I ever played in. And then you've got, the two birdshot guys who really, honestly, we would not have tournaments in Houston if it wasn't for those two gentlemen. They provided, a tour essentially for the city of Houston before we had anything else really that rivaled that. And of course, Andy and Don. I mean, Andy is a Hall of Famer for a reason, right? She's the queen of Houston disc golf for a reason. And just the amount of impact that she's had in Houston disc golf and disc golf around the country. I mean, I ran into her at the USDGC this last year, and just, talking to her about, the disc golf Hall of Fame and all of the work she puts in there. And it's just, it's really an inspiring group of people. And we would not be where we are right now without each and every one of those folks.
Yeah, when I saw this picture right here, and Don, once again, I love you, man. And I wish the picture was there, because you just see how young Don looks in this picture as well, because believe it or not, this picture was taken in 2012.
Yep, that was Charlotte Worlds.
That's when this was taken, 2012. And Don, you look great. I do apologize. I have to fix it. At least share the picture somehow in the comments. But you are so right there. When I saw this, my jaw dropped. I was like, my goodness, that is a prize right there. And you so eloquently stated we would not be here, and Houston, Texas disc golf would be completely different without this group of people.
Yep, absolutely.
Hey, I have a quick question. So who do you think is, like for you personally, has been your worst caddy?
Absolutely, David Hemmeline. I was having the round of my
life. That was a setup right there.
Yeah.
That gets me out of caddying a lot. People ask me to caddy. I'm like, no, I'm not very good at caddying.
It's like I had like 7 birdies in a row, and then he's like, "You're having a really good round, TJ." And then
you're beating the pros, man. You are good.
You're really good.
No, but you are, and that's the thing.
Good.
That's the thing about it. You have everything. You know, you have this massive arm. You guys, if you know TJ, you know he can throw it a long way. It's a great putt. You've been everywhere. You know all the courses, and so you know I had every hope that you were just going to keep going. I learned my lesson. You just be quiet, stay in the
man, if I had the mental game to match my physical ability, I think I'd be a pretty good disc golfer. But at the same time, I think for me, and I tell people this all the time, you know, people who are getting into the game and things like that, is I love to play disc golf and I love to compete and I love to play tournaments, all those things. But for me, it's the people. It's the people I've made connections with. It's the Dave Hemmelines. It's the Sheldon Jeffersons. It's Chris right now. You know, like I have friends all around the country because of this sport. Although I think it's more than that. It's a family. It's it is a thing. You know, like I think Coling said it best. It's a thing that we all share, and it's a thing we can all talk about, and we can all come from different parts of life, and then all can get together and share that. And that's amazing. Like I don't even know how to put into words how big of a thing it is for all of us, and that to me is what makes it special.
That's well said. I mean, that kind of piggy tails off of what Yeti was saying, because that's pretty much the whole night. We talked a long time with Jay. All night was just this thread of people, just like that the lives that he's touched, and then he starts to mention kind of the history of it, and then my head is spinning because I got in late, and I don't know a lot of those old timers, but man, then I find out I actually played around with what's his name, anyway, Duvall, Harold Duvall. I got to hang out with this guy, one of the architects of disc golf, and just to see how this thing is finally getting a recognition. I mean, I have some Uber riders, I drive for Uber sometimes, and they know, I'll just throw it out there, and a lot of times they know, or they'll go, oh, it's that basket thing, or whatever. Whereas in the past, it's like, what, like totally clueless. So great to see how it's grown.
I love it. Like you said, it's grown. I'm excited to see what's next. And I think what you were saying about, more drones, more, stabilized stationary cameras, like Chris was saying, are going to really, elevate the game. And, and also to your point, these courses that are out there in the sticks and aren't going to be easily accessible, we're going to want to watch that. And because that's where the best courses are. And so we're going to need to step our game up. And, DGPT has done a fantastic job with that. And, sky's the limit. I'm really excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I love that because, I mean, if you look at Augusta National and the Masters, I don't know if you've ever been to Augusta, Georgia, but it's in the middle of nowhere. And the only reason why there's anything around that is because of that golf course and what it's become. And I think with these beautiful courses in which you've identified and been to and seen that are just stunning. And if anyone ever gets a chance, if you know TJ, go look some of his pictures. They are stunning, some of the courses. And I think that that's what it's going to take, because these courses aren't going to move indoors and they're not going to move close to the cities. It's just not going to happen, especially the ones that we're going to want to see on TV and the ones that we're going to see that are just these beautiful mountain shot, drone shots, like Hemi said, coming down the mountain to give you perspective. And I think that once we do that, you're going to get these kids hooked. And once we get the purses big enough, the sky's the limit. I mean, the sky is the limit. But TJ, I just want to say, first off, thank you for everything that you've done for Houston Disc Golf, your commitment to growing the sport, your commitment to putting in the time to taking care of these courses, starting courses and upkeeping the courses and being there for the tournaments as well. It's quite impressive. It was quite amazing to look at it and delve into your past the way that I like to do it, as most people do. And I would just like to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you, because I've been fortunate enough to play some of the courses in which you're part of as well. Awesome. Just amazing to meet you. And Hemi was right. Great to have you on, sir. Thank you so much.
Anytime, y'all.
Hey, let's do it again, TJ.
Absolutely. Let's absolutely do it again.
Hey, all TJ, right. Do you have anybody you want to thank? You have any sponsors, anything that you would like to say before you go this evening?
I want to thank Hemi, for letting me come on. I think to your sponsor, Lone Star, I want to thank them for what they're doing, for Texas disc golf as well. It's amazing how fast and quickly they've stepped up and grown and continue to, and just the impressive trajectory that they're taking has been, amazing. Obviously I want to thank Sheldon and Jim and Dave and the guys who really were the people who made me look at disc golf and disc golf course design in a different way, the pros, even like Dixon Jowers and those guys, being able to pick their brains and say, hey, how do you look at this? What do you think of this? What makes this a good hole or a bad hole? Really helped me, develop, my design mantra and all of those things. And I'm just very thankful for all of them.
Well, and you had the means and the desire to get out and see the real courses. And you were the one of the few people that really knew kind of my disc golf blues that I was going through when I moved here, because when I first got here, I was playing really well. I was competing on a high level, and there's something about, just not being called. I always say being called back by the course. When the course doesn't call you back, you kind of start to lose a little bit of, love for the game. But when you're up there, and for me, it's all about elevation. I mean, even just like I love how the Pro Tour is putting the little box, tee boxes, elevating the boxes. I mean, just that 2 feet makes a huge difference in the way, the vibe of the hole, and how it feels and everything.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I think what I learned being able to go out to Charlotte and go to all these places and really explore disc golf in other parts of the country was, and that's why I wanted to come back and elevate Houston disc golf. I saw all of this, and, granted, Houston doesn't have the elevation, but it does have a lot of people who love the game and a lot of untapped resources as far as properties go. And it was always my dream to really bring some elite level disc golf there and bring back what I had seen at other places. So, yeah.
Well, and as you get north, there are some elevations. Steve's place has got
absolutely
beautiful land out there.
And so bayous, you can use those bayous as elevation. You know how them bayous go. That's our elevation. They go down and up.
Hey, Missoula, man, was the best course in town. I think TJ has a little painting of that course.
Yeah. Missoula was great, man.
Missoula was beautiful, and it had elevation. It was like a mini waterworks.
Let me tell you, that painting is my most prized possession. Like it is incredible. And it was like we went out there and scouted that picture and
we researched it by throwing some discs and taking some pictures. But no, I took some pictures. All the pictures came or the inspiration came on that day with TJ out just taking pictures of this beautiful course that went away.
Another one, Mason Park. I don't know if you've ever played Mason Park, but had some really cool elevation and stuff like that. And it was just really in a bad part of town, but there's places you can get elevation, just like at Brock, those first 9 holes out there were fantastic.
I loved it. Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought, Griff did a great job on the front 9 for sure.
Yep.
And then 18 coming in. But well, cool talking with you, TJ.
Man.
When are you coming back to Texas, and when we see you again?
I'm planning on coming back soon. I need to get out there and visit everybody.
Yeah, give me a shout for sure.
Sister in Houston, so I'll be whenever I head out there.
We should go play Magnolias first or something that we haven't played together.
I would like that. There's some new courses out there. Jones, I heard, was really good.
I haven't played that one either. Chris has probably played them. Chris plays all the time.
I haven't played that one at all, but when y'all do play, I'm being on that card. That's for sure. We're all going to get out there and play. That's for sure. And TJ, I hope that we get to catch up again and have you on again as the season goes along and as you get to see more of this play, this fabulous tour that we have this year, because your insight's just fabulous and really, really appreciated.
Yeah, love to help. Thanks, guys.
All right, man. Good night,
all
TJ.
Right. Good night,
have
TJ.
A good one. Good night, y'all.
All right.
Peace.
Well, David, as usual, you were correct. You've always been correct. The group of people that you know and the friends that you've just accumulated over the years, not only in the disc golf community, but outside of it as well, it's just amazing people. And TJ's just another one of those people. And you were so right there. I mean, just wonderful.
Insightful. Insightful knowledge about the course that we're seeing on TV, or I'm seeing every weekend. You know, I want to know more about it. I mean, obviously the ones I played, or even the ones I scored for, watching coverage from Brock, you know, because I got to score a complete round. I got to at least see the course, you know. So but yeah, there's nothing like seeing something that you've played, or at least get a little bit of insight, and that's what TJ gave us from North Carolina.
Amen to that. It kind of felt like Stokely again the last time we had him on, where he was out in the middle of nowhere, Texas, and just had to find some place to get some reception to get us on, to get him on. So we really appreciate that, because Black Hills, North Carolina, that I'm pretty sure there's a few reception problems out there, but I look forward to next week. I'm going to be out of town this week, my friend. I cannot wait to get out there and just kind of relax. You know how I enjoy being out in the country. And this is my kind of sabbatical with some friends that I've known for years. So I'm looking forward to it, but I will miss our play in disc golf, but I hope your back is feeling better. That's another thing. I hope you're getting over that, you know, because there's nothing worse than a back injury trying to play disc golf. That is for sure.
Yeah, it's getting there.
All right.
So TJ, I think the saying is like, if it's brown, get on the ground. I'm talking about grizzly bears. So if I can't remember the saying. They used it in the movie, but I think if they don't get into a bag of cocaine, I think you'll be all right.
No cocaine bears out there.
I wouldn't mess with
as
TJ,
we like to say here on the Fling Show before we end the evening, is go play disc golf. And as Hemi likes to say, who has most fun wins. And most of all, you can't win unless you throw something in the air. And until next time, folks, we shall see you next Wednesday night live here on YouTube. Subscribe, like, share. We really, really appreciate it. But hopefully,
push all the buttons.
Push them all. Can you sing us out, Hemi? Let's go. Good night, folks. Peace.
Peace.
There's an old holler tree down the road from me where you lay down $1 or $2. You can go round the bend, you can come back again. There's a mug of that good old Mountain Dew, and they call it that old Mountain Dew. And them that refuse it off you, I'll shut up my mug if you'll fill up my jug with that good old Mountain Dew.
Peace. Thank you. Next time, folks.
Sorry about that.
All right.